All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to break down what is honestly a massive paradox. Exactly why getting a raise so often leaves people feeling just as broke as they were before. And, more importantly, we'll look at how you can completely flip that script by upgrading the things nobody else actually sees. So, Section 1, the visible wealth trap. Let's look at exactly why raises tend to keep you broke. Let's take a guy named Kevin. Now, Kevin gets a nice raise on a Thursday, and I kid you not, by the very next Thursday, he falls into the exact same trap that keeps most people poor. Suddenly, there's a brand new SUV in the driveway with dealer plates, he's in a bigger apartment with a kitchen island he literally never cooks on, and he's sporting a heavy gold watch. But here is the kicker. 6 months later, he's staring at the exact same depressing checking account balance he had before the raise. He is still just as broke, you know? His financial anxiety just has nicer wallpaper. Nothing actually changed but the price tags. And this perfectly illustrates why visible upgrades are just terrible for your wealth. Think about that car. The average new car payment recently hit around $770 a month. When Kevin financed that shiny new upgrade, he essentially borrowed money at interest for an asset that instantly loses 20% of its value the absolute second it rolls off the lot. And it tanks roughly 60% over 5 years. He basically bought something that is actively turning into less money. Section 2, the psychology of staying broke. Let's talk about how your brain is actively working against you the second your income jumps. See, your brain is wired to adapt to visible upgrades almost instantly. That new car smell? Oh, it smells absolutely incredible for about 3 weeks. And then? Well, it's just a car, right? That massive new apartment feels enormous right up until the day it just feels perfectly normal. This is a concept called hedonic adaptation. And what it means for us is that you can never, ever buy enough visible things to actually stay happy. Now, here's where it gets even worse. Visible upgrades don't just cost what they cost, they actually drag everything else upward with them. You buy a fancy new couch, and suddenly your perfectly fine rug looks totally shabby. So you replace the rug. But wait, now the curtains look wrong. This is known as the Diderot effect. It's a never-ending psychological cascade of visible spending. Listen, if you take only one single rule away from this entire explainer today, please let it be this realization. The more an upgrade can be seen by other people, the worse it usually is for you. And the less it can be seen, the better it is, because this is where true wealth actually lives. Which brings us to Section 3, upgrading your personal infrastructure. Let's see how you build a solid foundation. Let's talk about the surface you sleep on. Nobody is ever going to come over and admire your mattress, but look at the math here. A genuinely high-quality $1,000 mattress lasts about 10 years. That cost a mere 27 cents a night. And why does that matter? Because the data shows people sleeping under 6 hours a night actually carry a 13% higher risk of dying early. Your sleep isn't a luxury, it's literal infrastructure. And the exact same logic applies to your waking hours. Did you know workplace musculoskeletal problems cost the economy roughly $50 billion a year? But a $400 ergonomic desk chair, when spread over 10 years, is just $40 a year. That is literally less than 3 physical therapy appointments. Upgrading your chair, getting your annual physicals, actually going to the dentist. These are cheap, invisible ways to stop small physical problems from compounding into really expensive, painful catastrophes. This whole infrastructure logic applies to the things you touch every single day, too. There's an old concept called the boots theory. A poor man buys $10 boots that completely fall apart every season, right? So he spends $100 over a decade and always has wet feet. Meanwhile, the guy who buys $50 boots just once, stays dry for a decade, and actually saves $50. Being broke is quite literally more expensive. So for shoes, kitchen knives, or your everyday bag, upgrade to that buy it for life tier, assuming we're not talking about rapidly changing tech that'll be obsolete in 3 years anyway. Moving on to Section 4, securing the free money. This is absolutely my favorite part of the explainer, because these are totally invisible tools that are quite literally handing you free cash, and most people just walk right past them. Right now, the average big bank pays you something totally insulting, like 1/3 on your savings. But simply by moving a $20,000 balance to a high-yield savings account paying around 4%, you earn over $700 extra a year. It's the same money, same access, but a difference of hundreds of dollars for about 10 minutes of copying and pasting routing numbers? It's a no-brainer. Next up on the free money train is your employer's 401k match. 1 in 4 workers skips the mildly annoying paperwork and just leaves this match on the table. That is typically around $1,300 a year they are just throwing away. And over 20 years with average market growth, that translates to nearly $43,000. Look, a dollar for a dollar match is a guaranteed 100% return the absolute second you touch it. Do not skip this. Then we have the ultimate hidden tax loophole, the HSA, or Health Savings Account. If you have a high deductible health plan, this account gives you 3 superpowers. Money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and it comes out tax-free for medical expenses. The big secret? It's basically a retirement account wearing a lab coat. You can pay cash for a doctor's visit today, stash the receipt in a shoebox, let the HSA funds stay invested for decades, and then reimburse yourself totally tax-free years later. It's wild. But the invisible upgrade that saves you the most money without costing a single dime to fix, that's your credit score. A lot of people treat their credit score like some abstract vibe, but it comes with a massive price tag. On a typical $300,000 mortgage, the gap between a mediocre score and an excellent one will cost you roughly $56,000 in extra interest over the life of the loan. Just quietly paying your bills on time saves you the equivalent of a luxury car. Section 5. Buying back your time. Let's explore how invisible wealth lets you purchase the ultimate asset. Time is the one thing you can never naturally get more of. And research actually shows that spending money to save time makes people measurably happier than buying physical stuff. So here is the formula to see if it makes sense for you. Take your take-home pay and divide it by your hours worked. If you make $50 an hour, paying someone $120 to hand you back 3 hours of weekend chores you absolutely hate isn't lazy. It's a bargain, provided, of course, you actually use that freed up time to rest, earn more, or be with loved ones, rather than just sitting on the couch doom scrolling. And speaking of your ability to earn, let's look at the asset that generates all that hourly value in the first place. Statistically, more than 1 in 4 of today's 20-year-olds will become disabled before they retire, yet half of all working households completely skip long-term disability insurance. Listen, your house isn't your biggest asset. Your ability to wake up and earn money for the next 30 years is. That ability is worth millions, and it costs just 1 to 3% of your salary to protect it. It is the ultimate invisible safety net. Finally, Section 6, the quiet wealth machine. Now we have to tie all of these isolated concepts together. You need a system that works perfectly even when you are just too tired to think about it. Because relying on your own willpower every single month, that's a terrible long-term financial plan. You have to upgrade your defaults, automate your transfers so you build that 3 to 6 month emergency fund, which, by the way, turns a blown transmission into just a mildly irritating Tuesday instead of a crisis. Set your 401k to auto-escalate a % every year. Put your bills on autopay to protect that precious credit score. Just do the smart thing automatically. So let's bring this all back to Kevin. If he had just chosen these boring, invisible upgrades, his reality would look completely different right now. Sure, his driveway would look identical to his neighbor's, no shiny new SUV to show off, but he would be years ahead in life. He'd have an invisible machine compounding in the background, a body that doesn't ache from a cheap mattress, and a financial foundation totally free of that dreaded 2 a.m. money panic. Look, the entire economy is essentially built to make you upgrade the visible stuff, because that's where all the profit is. But you are absolutely allowed to opt out of that game. So I'll leave you with this question to think about as you decide what to do with your next raise. 10 years from now, do you want people to notice your shiny watch, or do you want to quietly enjoy your compounding wealth? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.